Mr. President, if I may just make a manifestation. Thank you, Mr. President. With the indulgence of Senator Drilon, I would just like to manifest that I did not, in fact, in caucus vote for did not agree to the period of 40 billion for the aggregate incremental revenue collections over sin taxes in the structure that has been proposed. The reason that I did not agree with the figure of 40 billion is that, as I think I had amply shown during my interpolation, that the figure of 40 billion is not in fact a figure that is a realistic one, and it is a one that will be collected by the BIR for various reasons, which, as I said, I think I was able to amply demonstrate. Now, I was advised by many of our my fellow senators that we should see merely the number of 40 billion merely as a target, and if we are successful in achieve that, then all well and good. But if not, then then we will have to look it back. But we must not. We must just see. If I believe it will not be that 40 billion will not be collected, so be it. It is merely a target. However, the argument and the discussion does not end there. The discussion goes on is because of the use of the wrong numbers, wrong coefficient to force the calculations to reach 40 billion. The impositions upon the tobacco industry and to a lesser extent to the alcohol industry will be such that the effect will be ruinous to the industry. And that is why I believe we have been able to show that that 40 billion, as has been said over and over again, is not really a practical number, and it is not one that I agreed with. And as I said during my interpolation, during the period of individual amendments, I will propose a system by which those dislocations that we fear are not as severe as they would be in the bill as proposed. So that I await, but still arrive at an incremental revenue number, which will be very close to what the sponsor proposes. Having said that, I would just like to further move now from manifestation to just a quick question to our sponsor. The sponsor, when he opened after our suspension, said that we will follow the sharing on a historical rate, at the historical trend, which between tobacco and alcohol. The sharing between tobacco.
The sharing, we found historical data insofar as the sharing between fermented liquor and distilled spirits.
I only bring it up, Mr. President, because the number for sharing of 60-40 was also mentioned. So as I understand it, from my readings, the historical sharing is not in fact 60-40. It is more in the high 50s and the low 40s. High 50s for tobacco and low 40s. So I just wanted to clarify that we're not following 60-40. We're following.
No, we're following 60-40, and on the 40% for liquor, we follow the historical sharing.
So the historical sharing is only why again?
Because we believe that this is a health measure. And by the way, we're talking about historically the sharing the technical staff is something like 57.5% as against 42.5%. So we just rounded it off to 60-40.
Well, 1 percentage point, Mr. President, we are talking in hundreds of billions. Never mind in terms of pesos, but we are also talking in terms of jobs lost, because as we have tried to point out many times, that even by the figures, the disputed figures of the Department of Finance that were given us, the reduction is still 43% in terms of production.
Mr. President, I was just trying to reflect the consensus in the caucus. and that is what I present. The gentleman from Ilocos Norte may be correct in his statement that historically it's less than 50, it could be less than 60. It could be in the high 60s. That may be correct, we do not dispute that. What we're just saying is that the consensus in the caucus is 60-40. That the 40% for the liquor will be shared in accordance with the historical sharing.
With all due respect to the good sponsor, I did not hear any discussion
Well,
on
the Senate President can affirm
on the historical. As far as I understood it, that we were going to follow the historical sharing between tobacco and alcohol. And as I said, the actual historical, again, I go back to my empirical data, will show us that it is not 60-40, but it is more, it's closer to the number that the good sponsors mentioned, 57 to maybe 43, or it has changed over the years, but it is never reached 60.
Well, that's why we are not disputing that it reached 60. We're just saying that that is the consensus in the caucus, and that the historical sharing will be applied on the liquor. The 40% on the liquor. That's all that we're saying. That's what we arrived at the caucus. So, Mr. President.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I cannot say that I'm satisfied with that answer because, as I said, I did not hear any discussion on the sharing. But nevertheless, that debate will be for another time. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you.
Other note. We talked about the unfortunate change that Smartmatic
Unfortunate, Mr. President? I think I would characterize it as rather more than unfortunate. It is illegal.
Yes, Mr. President, and I think COMELEC itself has already castigated Smartmatic
Castigating Smartmatic does not remedy the situation. How was it allowed to happen? How was it allowed that the password of the COMELEC was used by a Smartmatic staff operative employee was allowed to use the COMELEC password to make that change without an end bank resolution authorizing such a change? That is a question that, as to this day, we have yet to find an answer.
And we join you, Mr. President, in trying to find out the answers to these queries. Mr. President, what I would like to ask is that if you are averring that these changes affected the elections, are you also saying that it only affected the vice presidential race?
I do not know what happened. Exactly. This is the whole point. We do not know what happened when Marlon Garcia opened the file and changed the so-called ENIAC. What else did he change? Did he change more? Did he change nothing? Did he change my name? Did he change the numbers? What did he do? What else did he do? And after he had done whatever it is he had to do, what else did anyone ask this, since the file was then open? What else did anyone go in and change afterwards? And after the file was locked open, that was by putting the first hash code after the second hash code, thereby essentially locking it open. Who else went into that file and made alterations? We don't know. That is the whole point of what we are trying to talk about. What happened? What is it? If we can be shown that the changes were indeed cosmetic, you will never hear about this from me again.
Yes,
but
Mr. President,
we still have to determine whether or not anything else was changed, what changes were made, who made them, and under whose authority.
And more importantly, Mr. President, who should be penalized for that? I think you will agree with me on that, no, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I'm sure that is part of the question, but I think more to the point is we need to find out exactly what happened. We have to be sure that the conduct of the elections were in fact fair and honest and transparent. That is to this point not the case, simply because we have not received any answers from COMELEC on the questions that we have raised to them. And we also have not received any authorization to inspect the servers and the logs as we have asked the COMELEC.
Mr. President, just a final question. Mr. President, kung kayo na po mismo nagsabi na hindi ho natin alam kung meron ngang nangyari, hindi ho ba premature na sabihin na may pandarayang nangyayari? Kayo na po mismo nagsabi, hindi natin alam kung ano yung nangyari.
Wala pa akong sinasabi na may pandarayang nangyari sa pagpalit ng server. Ang sinasabi kong pandaraya ang yung mga picture, yung mga video na nakita natin na sa ibang lugar hindi pinabaya maboto. Meron akong mga video na siguro nakita na naman ng lahat ng tao, mga bago mag-rally na nagbibigayan ng pera, ng vote buying, etc. etc. Lahat yan. Pandaraya lahat yan. Kaya maliwanag dahil meron nga kaming ebidensya na may pandaraya. Ngayon, kung yung pandarayang yan ay doon lamang sa vote buying, doon lamang sa intimidation, doon lamang sa hindi pinayagan bumoto ang ibang botante, kung hindi, doon pati sa transparency server, doon pa rin sa system log, sa audit log, ay ibang usapan niya. Dahil wholesale na yan. Kaya't yan ang aming gustong makita. Kaya't yan ang aming hinahanap at humihingi kami ng authorization galing sa COMELEC na tignan para malaman. Siguro naman ako na mauuna na matutuwa kapag malaman ko na hindi nagka-problema.
Tama, Mr. President.
Ako na ang unang-unang magsasabi, mas gumanga ang aking loob dahil alam ko na ang nangyari. Ang problema, hindi na ipapaliwanag na mabuti ng COMELEC at hindi tayo pinababayaan na tignan ng mabuti para iliwanag ng mabuti kung ano ba talaga ang nangyari sa loob ng mga server, sa loob ng ating mga transmission, sa loob ng ating mga vote counting machine.
Mr. President.